Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, Cesar Espino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, Cesar Espino, and today I have a special guest. Before I give you his full name, Steve went through a personal transformation in 2013 where he shed 35 kilos in 14 weeks, inspired by his son, made his employer over 15 million and move out of his mate's garage. And fast forward to 2017, Steve was inspired to leave his job as a marketing manager to pursue personal training. He invested 25,000 Australian dollars in a coaching program, and he launched a Generation Dad Bod. In the first 6 months, he made six figures. Then in 3 years, he helped over 5,000 dads in 3 years transform their mind and body. He later consulted for major gyms, Les Mills, F45, 9 Rounds Boxing, teaching them digital marketing and sales. Now, Steve is dedicated to helping personal trainers in taking their online business, growing it to six figures using organic outreach methods and value-based content. My pleasure to introduce you, Steve. Hey, Steve, how are you, man?
No, good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited to have you here. And so definitely, I love all of the accomplishments and the things that you've done. So before we dive into that, though, tell me a little bit about your upbringing. Where are you originally from, and how was that for you?
Yeah, so I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand, and I would say I had a humble upbringing. I came from the west side of Auckland, and we weren't really you'd say financially stable. My dad he worked quite a lot of hours. I hardly saw my dad as I was growing up, and through that, it taught me a lot about his work ethic. It taught me a lot about how I needed to show up as a man when I grew up. And from there, my dad he met, well, him and my mum, they split.
Yep.
And then he remarried, and the person that he remarried to was on the other side of the bridge. So we came to the North Shore, and that literally changed everything for us. To be honest, it was a lot more. It was a wealthier area, and just that environment really projected me to where I am today. So I couldn't be any more grateful for that transition. But that work ethic, it just really taught me a lot. And even that environment that we moved into, it really helped my dad. He was working long hours, and then eventually started up his own business, and he became a millionaire. Had the
Wow.
Ferrari, had the $1 million house,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff taught me the fundamentals that I teach my clients today.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Let me ask you something. I know that a lot of times when kids, are growing up and they see their parents kind of go through a split or things like that, a lot of times that can impact the kid, right, the child, and sometimes in a positive way, sometimes in not so much in a positive way. How was that for you? Because I do believe that those kind of actions, as you mentioned, obviously you guys moved to the other side that helped you. Again, though, even going through that transition could impact, just even you growing up as a kid, right, or as a young adult. So how was that impacted for you?
Yeah, so it taught me a lot of about resilience, because I haven't seen my mum basically since I was younger.
Hmm.
It taught me a lot about character in terms of I mean the thing. Well, basically, my parents. If I was to go a little bit deeper, my parents they split up because my mum was unfaithful, and
Hmm.
it taught me a lot about who I wanted to be as a man, and that's installed a lot of like core values that's really helped me be who I am today. So that in itself Not to say I probably wouldn't have had those same values, but it really like just drove those values a lot deeper in terms
Yeah.
of being able to when you connect with anyone, be respectful, but also to treat others how you would want to be treated.
Yeah, no, that definitely. Well, growing up, did you ever had an idea of, we always talk about when I grow up, I want to be whatever, a firefighter, a pilot, doctor. Like, what was your dream? Or, like, what was that one thing you wanted to do?
Yeah, I actually wanted to be. I wanted to go to the NBA,
Ah, nice.
and I
Yeah.
wanted to be like Michael Jordan. I had all his videos, all the videos, and I'd watch MJ playing all the time. And I actually came to LA in my final year of high school, and
Ah,
I didn't. Well, I went to UCLA to one of
yep.
the basketball camps there, and that freaked me out because when
Oh,
you come from New Zealand all the way
yeah.
to LA, it's quite different. You've only got about 50 parents in the stand, and at UCLA, you got that tens of thousands, and that just that scared me. So that was my dream to the NBA gone
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
just
yeah.
got scared.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's amazing. I want to talk about two things you mentioned. Definitely when you guys decided to move to the other side, and you talked about what I believe to be very important. That's work ethic and then the environment. The environment that you were in obviously helped a lot. So let's go a little bit deeper on that because I know that there's some deep meanings when we talk about just the work environment, right? And I want to take your point of view of what does that really mean, even for people that are in the 9 to 5 or even want to venture into their own business. Like, what does that mean? The work ethic.
yeah. So I guess if I just talk back from that point, I was when we shifted from West to North Shore. I remember this time very vividly because I got a smack for it. So it was a bit rough out west. And when I went to the North Shore, apparently my dad got a call, and it was because I was bullying someone.
Mm,
And and it's funny to hear that now because I'm completely the opposite to
the
that
opposite.
person. But my dad got called up, and then he came in and just gave me a big smack, and he said, "If you ever do that again, you're out." But it was because of the environment that I grew up in. I was being that type of person. So when I came into this new environment, I started to speak differently. I started to think differently. I started to behave quite differently than where I was out west. And it's interesting how, location is about 20, 25 minutes different,
Mhm.
distance between each other. It can make such a huge impact. And also just your demeanor, if you're going from like a semi rough place where you're just trying to act all cool or gangster or whatever it was, to a place where people are quite wealthy, very different demeanors, and also with their thoughts and the way that they act, that has to rub off on you at some point. And that's why I was able to become basically
Mm,
a different kid
yeah.
from that transition.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And you said it. I mean, it sometimes is literally like when you talk about growth, right? And we're thinking about growing as a person in business, personal life, love life, relationships. It doesn't matter, right? It could be as simple as that the people that are surrounded by you, like it literally could be somebody that you spend the most time every day that may be putting you down and are not helping you grow. It could be again family member, it could be one of your best friends or childhood friends. You just never know, and they could be very close to you. And we're still asking ourselves, like, why is this still happening, and how come I cannot get out of this? And part of that, again, it goes back to that is it can be a couple of feet away from you, or there could be miles away from you. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, is that we got to look at our environment. We definitely got to look at that and figure out, okay, how can I change my environment? There's probably something here that is not working that I gotta kind of divert and like you say, your demeanor. Like, look at those things and then divert from that, right? So
Exactly.
yeah. So talk about obviously you entered the working world, right? Working class world. How was that for you? And at which point you decided to say, you know what, this is not for me, and I got to do my own business and venture into my own entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So when I entered into the workspace, it was kind of a funny time when I graduated from university because it was, they would say, quote unquote, like the recession was around that time, and that was when I literally was just applying for jobs. I was just applying for jobs, and I remember the job that I actually got, the first one out of uni. I didn't even know what the job was. I just got caught up, said, "Hey, you got this interview." I came to the place, and I was trying to research it, but there was nothing really online about the place, and I just winged it. And funny enough, I managed to get it, but it was in the first 6 to 7 years of my career, it was all education because I
Mm,
really love helping people. So that's why I entered into that specific space. And then towards the end of it, I was literally in my office on my computer, and I just had that moment. And I think people who similar to yourself, you have that kind of moment where you just look and you think, is this it? Is this what I really want in my life? Is this my purpose? And there was that glimpse where I thought, no, I'm not going to be stuck behind a desk for the rest of my life working for someone. When I helped all these different businesses and whatnot make millions.
yeah,
If
yeah.
I can do that, I'm going to do that for myself. So that's when I decided to go and pursue personal training. A lot of people, I probably would recommend, don't do what I did. I just went cold turkey and said I'm out,
Yeah, yeah,
and
definitely.
didn't really have any clients to fall back on. You should slowly transition, obviously, but I'm the type where I just kind of just dive nose deep and just go for it. But funny enough, I managed to land on my feet where I am today.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think one of the biggest fears that people have, and you might have come across with some of your clients too, is the idea of, am I gonna make it? Is this really gonna work, right? And
Yeah.
and more than anything, believing in themselves, right? So for you, obviously, you've had this vision, you had this idea of, I cannot be behind this desk forever, right? um how, what, besides having those thoughts, where else did you grow that courage, right? Because at the end of the day, it is risky, and courageous for somebody to say, what, I'm going to take this leap of faith, I'm going to do this, one or the other. Like, where was that drive? And say, because you're burning the boats at that point, right? You could have, you know drowned.
Exactly. Yeah. For me, this is the same question that I get asked from my own clients as well, in terms of how do they break through those limiting beliefs when they're wanting to be courageous, but there's a part of them that's keeping them back. And I say, look back to your past. There's moments in time where you had your back against the wall. What did you do? What was the mental processes that you were going through in your head? What was the self-talk? What was the thing that gave you that edge to keep pushing in spite of not knowing what the path was ahead of you? And when you go through those internal processes, it just gets you back into that same mind frame, and you just propel forward. One of the things that really, really helped me was a time where you mentioned at the very start, 2013, where I ended up in my mate's garage, and that was probably definitely the most lowest point I've ever been in my life,
Mhm.
where I lost my relationship, lost so much money. I ended up in my mate's garage. I was overweight, and my mate was literally paying for my rent and my food because I was broke. I had nothing. So to go through that, the lowest besides that is the road,
Mhm. Yep.
homeless. So to go through that and then turn everything back around and help get a job, help the employee make 15 mil, lose all that weight, 35 kgs in 14 weeks. It doesn't happen by accident. So when you can tap back into that source of motivation, everything will start to change.
Yeah, I love that. You know what? That's actually a good point, and I think that's one of those golden nuggets where you got to be able to go back and reflect, right? And look at, what was the what did I do in that circumstance, or in that moment of life, whenever I was in going through a challenging moment, and being able to utilize that, and using that to benefit. I always tell people, and I know a lot of people tend to live in their past, and I said, we got to look at the past as an educational experience. We got to be able to look at the past as to, if this was school, what are the lessons that I can extract from my past, and then utilize those lessons to be able to put them into play now in the future, or in the present for the future, right? As opposed to the other way around, where a lot of people do is they get drowned, right, in the past, and then they end up just getting lost in the past without realizing that it's really just a lesson, right? For us to be able to look
Yes.
into that. So what kind of clients do you do right now? Like, what are the type of clients that you're working with, that you're helping out?
Yeah, so my clients are all personal trainers, and they're all wanting to go online. They could be at the gym still working part-time and wanting to do online as well. But primarily, look, most of them are wanting to leave the gym, exit that gig, and then go online and make this a full-time job. And and for people to come on board, it's a little bit of a strict criteria.
Okay.
It's not one of those programs where you just open the floods and you can just click this link and you just get access to it. We go through a criteria to make sure that people are actually ready, because it's like anything, like this podcast, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if your mindset is off, it doesn't matter what you give to them, they're
Yep.
just probably not ready. They may need to go through more pain in most cases for them to get to that place where they're ready to actually make the change, and also invest into themselves to change, not just in terms of financially, but time wise, to do that inner work.
Yeah, yeah, got you. You know what you said? Three things there that I think are critical. That one is sometimes we gotta go through a lot more pain, right? And I think there's like anything in life. And again, I kind of go back to this idea of we're thinking about why is this happening to me? Now we're playing that victim mode. Why me? Why me? Why me? And we keep asking that, where we gotta start asking the right questions as opposed to being in that victim mode. Except a lot of times, and correct me, in terms of what your beliefs are, a lot of times whether it's God, the universe, whatever we believe in, it doesn't really matter, right? The point is somebody else, a greater power or force, we're put in a position where we're going through the same experience over and over and over again because we haven't learned that lesson. We haven't learned the learn, so we got to go through more pain. We got to be able to go through that more pain so that once we get the lesson, we can start doing something different, or changing our environment, or doing things that are going to help us propel to the next level, right? And so that's one thing
Yes.
that I think people need to understand. The second thing you mentioned, which I think is critical, is are you going to put in the time? Because you're right. There's a lot of mentors. There's a lot of different. Even now, I mean, you're on the other side of the world. I'm over here. Even right now, there's so much data, so much information, online information that anybody can really find anything if they wanted to. Except the problem, the challenge is that are they putting in the time? And really put in the time to study that and be able to look at that and say, okay, yep, I'm gonna make this happen. And then the last thing you mentioned is the financial part of it.
Yes.
Unfortunately, whether you decide to hey, I gotta pay a mentor to teach me. Okay, well, that's gonna be a financial obligation, or it could be as simple as, well, I don't have internet, so I gotta pay to get on the shuttle, the bus to go to the library and do that. That's whether it's $1 or two, whatever that might be, or I gotta buy a book that's worth $16, $20. There's still a financial aspect, and some people don't pay anything really, and they want to just get it for free. And when you get things for free, you don't value that as much, right? And so I think we definitely got to look at those three different elements and be able to say, okay, how can I change these dynamics and make sure that I go from pain to purpose, put in the time, put in the money, put in whatever I need to do to make it happen. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I was speaking to my clients about this yesterday, and I was saying to them, life will always mirror you. So if you don't invest into yourself, just say what you're saying there. If you don't invest into yourself, or if you don't even take time to invest in yourself as well, right? Like not just financially, but time wise,
Right.
then life will mirror that back to you. Why would life take you seriously if you don't take you seriously? Why would your clients take you seriously, or your leads take you seriously if you don't take you seriously? It's silly, And this is what people do. It's like they're wondering, they're trying to do all these self-worth activities to make them make more money, but it's like, well, you're not even taking yourself seriously, so that's why life will never give you anything, because why would it?
Right. Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Why is it gonna reward you when you don't take it serious, for sure?
Yeah.
And it happens. So you say that obviously to get people into your program that they got to go through obviously kind of a I won't call it a test, but they got to go through some major stuff, right, to get in that. How many clients do you normally take? Is it per month, or do you have a max number of clients that you work with? And then normally, what is the average time that you work with a client?
Yeah, so for we don't have a set amount of numbers that we cap off at in terms of like per
Yeah,
month, because we can just scale, because
yeah.
it's one of those types of programs. But in terms of like people coming in, they have to go through a 5 day experience to make sure that they're ready, and they have to complete some activities in it. One of them being a Facebook Live. So
Mm,
one of the things that a lot of people don't like doing is a Facebook Live, and they have to do a
yep.
Facebook Live every day. And if they can't even commit to that, then I'm like, well, why do you want to be an online PT? Just stay at the gym.
Yeah. Right.
And that's a block. And that's a big block for a number of PTs, And it's because no one's willing to keep them accountable. People just give them the free stuff and say, here you go, good luck. And no, and because I keep them accountable from the start, they'll either break, and if they break, that's cool. They just know that they're not ready to change. If they make it, then fantastic. We can have a conversation about how we can actually help them literally build out the entire business from scratch and get them to six figures quick. So we get our clients to 10 to 15K within the first 6 to 8 weeks. So that's what we focus on, because we've already got everything built out for them. It's literally they come in, they add their stuff into it. We've already got it, the system already set up, the websites, emails, all that stuff, and they just plug and play.
Gotcha. And how long normally is the time that you work with the client, or is all dependent on that client?
It's dependent on the client, so it can tick over. They can tick over.
Yeah. I like the approach and how you're doing it. I mean, I think we all can use some sort of accountability in all levels in life, not just in business, right? And sometimes when we have that accountability aspect, as you mentioned, it's going to help you kind of get to that next level, right? And either you're going to break, which tells you that you got to work harder on certain stuff, or you're going to make it, which means that you're ready for the next challenge, right? And I always see things like that. I always see that life is full of challenges, and we got to be able to pick those challenges and win those challenges, right? And make sure that we're able to do that. Now, I'm assuming you work with people from all over the world, or is it just specifically to okay?
Just all over. Yeah, all over. Yeah, got clients like across New Zealand, Australia, Canada, US.
Yeah, got you. Got it. So if people wanted to work with you, connect with you, learn more about your program, or even the things you're doing, how can they connect with you?
So they'll just go to my website to enroll for the free 5-day experience. So it's completely free. They get some amazing tools in it as well. It's just my name, stevepapps.io/PT Launchpad. So that's the free 5-day experience. You go in there, you'll get daily workshops, resources as well. We literally give you stuff that you could actually take and start plugging and playing and grow your business. So everything from DM scripts, our exact lead gen strategy, the software, the AI software also that we use to get leads on Facebook and stuff like that. So we give you like a lot of really cool stuff at the start, but it really comes back down to that strict criteria. Can you follow through on your word?
Yeah, exactly. That's the major thing, right? Can you actually follow through? No, that's amazing. We'll have that contact information too on the show notes for you guys to be able to just plug in and get that. Let me ask you this. Like a lot of people that listen to the show, they might be going through some sort of challenge. I don't know, whatever challenge that might be, right? What is one thing or a few things that people can start doing to start overcoming that challenge, whatever that might be?
So I think the first thing is this, to really think about, like, what's your purpose in life? Like, what's the ultimate thing that you want to achieve at the end of your life? Because we're going to get to the end, and we're going to look back and we're going to reflect. And if we look back and we haven't achieved anything, or we regret was probably one of the worst things you could have at the end of your life, I believe. Yeah. So when you set a purpose and then you decide, okay, well, who do I have to become to be that person, right? That there, and then start acting on that. That's the identity shift there. But the purpose has to be quite big, where it's to the extent where it pulls you, it energizes you when you wake up first thing in the morning, and and when it's so big and audacious, something that for deeper cause than just money.
Yeah.
All that other stuff that they're going through, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if this is possible. All of these problems, these external problems, they start to subside because you're so focused on the goal. And that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they're so focused on what's missing. It's like a person trying to lose weight. They're so focused on trying to not eat junk food, or consume alcohol, or take whatever it may be. And because they're so focused on that, they have to continue to perpetuate that, because that's where they're sending the energy. They're taking their eye off the ball and they're focusing on what's missing. So if you have that big thing that you really want, and you decide, hey, who do I need to become to be that, and just act on that, that's the identity shift.
Man, I love that. I love that. I love the way the fact that you're talking about like shifting your energy to what you want versus focusing on the things that you don't want, kind of thing, right? Let me ask you this. I like the idea. We got to start thinking about that purpose and what's, we come to the end of our lives. What was our purpose here before we leave this world, right? I know that at least for me, from experience, I didn't start thinking about that maybe until my like maybe mid 30s, right? Maybe even late 30s, where I'm like, okay, this is really what I want for me. This is what I want to leave behind. This is my purpose, right? I was more like just kind of like, let me grow in corporate America and get a better job and do this, do that, do all of that stuff that comes with it, right? Do you feel that for the people that are probably in the younger age listening to the podcast, do you feel that we should start thinking about that purpose and what we want to do at an early age, or when should we start thinking about that and really start putting a thought into that? Because again, sometimes we focus so much in our 20s. I would say the majority of the people focus so much on partying, uh drinking, going out, whatever, right? And they don't even see that. I'm like, I'm making money,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna just go party and blow up the money, right? What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
Well, I think someone should start it as soon as they hear this because it's the partying, the vices, all of that kind of stuff. That's the distractions, and that's the stuff that screws people over. Is because they're bouncing all over the place, and they're not going forward. They're actually going backwards because they're just they're getting so pulled in different directions. But when you have one clear thing that you want to achieve in your life, it's like Napoleon Hill. Like I always go back to that guy. He was literally asked to dedicate his life to that, to
Yep.
master one thing. And if everybody could do that, oh my God, like imagine what the world would be like. Right.
Yeah.
It's just one of the things that stop people is just the consistency. They just don't want to be consistent. And it's just because it's not sexy. And
Mhm.
that's why I say to my clients, like what I'm doing every day, it's not sexy. It might look nice, but it's not sexy. It doesn't, it's not like it's awesome, like it's a beautiful life, but it's like those key things that you have to do, like waking up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym. That's not sexy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doing the DMs and all that stuff. That's not sexy. But if you consistently do that, that will beat everybody.
Yeah. And I like the idea of we got to start today. Like a lot of people say one day, but one day doesn't come. So how about today is day one, right? And change that and just do it. And like you said, creating a you kind of talked about it, is creating some sort of habits, like daily disciplines, right? Whether it's waking up at
Daily
5 or 4 or whatever time that might be, and just creating those rituals and just building upon that. So no, I think that's huge. By the way, the book you're referring to was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, so you guys definitely gotta check out that book because there's a lot of great stuff there that you guys can pick up on that. Steve, let me ask you, anything else that you want to share before I let you go?
I think just for anyone that's watching this is just to really like think about what that purpose is, and that's probably the only message that I'll really get people to focus on is that purpose, and also thinking about like if you were to, if especially if you're a coach, like would you want to be coached by you, and if
Mm,
not, then who would you need to be to change that answer from a no to a yes, and then become that person that you might, but become that person that your clients need you to be, and actually, yeah, as you said before, that's what I do is daily disciplines. Like there's non-negotiables, because if you negotiate with yourself, you're negotiating with life, and you're never going to be that leader that your clients need you to be.
yeah, no, I love that, and I think when just kind of to add to that, and is when you know who you want to be, and you're like thinking to yourself, well, I'm not nowhere near that. You look at some of the habits or things that person will be doing, right? So would a kind of give you an idea. Well, I want to be, a healthy person. Well, would a healthy person be eating late at night pizza, hamburgers, fried food? No, the answer is no. So then, therefore, you got to cut that, and maybe not do it cold turkey, because that might be difficult for you. Except you start cutting that and you start looking at, okay, well, if I wanted to be a slim person, a healthy person, someone that is working out, and then say, okay, well, I'm gonna now hit the gym or go out for a walk. Things that you're not doing now, start doing those things. So start thinking about what would that person be like? What would that person be doing right now? It doesn't matter, if you're talking about relationships, right? I want to be that person that is a very lovable father or father figure in or husband. While you're doing things to really portray that right now with your relationship, and if you're not, start doing that, right? And so I love that fact that you got to step into that place where you want to be, and that's gonna start manifesting and showing up in your life in different ways. So I love that, Steve.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you, man, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time and all of the knowledge and the things that you have shared. Oh, so thank you for being on the show. Um, any last words before I let you go?
I just want to say thank you so much. I'm super grateful to be here and to be able to share this experience with you.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, thank you again, Steve, for being here. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Please make sure that you guys share this podcast. Go ahead and connect with Steve if you feel like this is a good fit for you. And don't forget to share this, because definitely there's somebody out there that needs to hear this message. And I'll see you guys to the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cesar Espino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.cesarrespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.